Good afternoon. My name is Amanda Stadler, and I work with Community Partnerships Ozarks Alliance to End Homelessness. The Alliance is the regional planning body for homeless services and funding for Springfield, Greene, Christian, and Webster counties. In that role, we work with partner agencies and community members to identify and address gaps in our homeless service system. Today, the Alliance is launching its Every Action Counts campaign with the release of the 2021 Unsheltered Report and a call to action for community support for our crisis cold weather shelters. I'm thankful to have some of our partners with us today to share more about these topics and how you, as a community member, business, or civic group, can get engaged. So first, I'd like to welcome Elizabeth and Sarah with Missouri State University's Department of Sociology and Anthropology to share findings from this year's Unsheltered Homeless Report, which is an annual report based on our point-in-time count.
Hello, everyone. My name is Liz. I'm a recent graduate in May from the Department of Sociology and Anthropology at Missouri State. And I took part in this because it was a great experience for me to be involved in some data analysis. That's an important part of sociology, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, Sarah, take it away.
Oh, hi, I'm Sarah. I'm also a recent MSU graduate who also studied sociology, and I guess we'll get started and let's start us off.
So before we share with you some highlights from the data, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the data collection process. And so every January, communities across the country complete an annual point-in-time count of people experiencing homelessness on a given night. These counts are federally mandated, and locally this effort is led by the Ozarks Alliance to End Homelessness, which serve as the continuum of care for Greene, Christian, and Webster counties. This year's survey data was collected via paper and electronic surveys created by the Institute of Community Alliances and was administered by trained partner agencies staffed through street outreach on January 28th and 29th. Outreach surveys collected in a paper format were entered into an electronic form by CPO staff, and data was organized in Excel file before being imported into what we used was the SPSS for statistical analysis. In total, data was collected for 66 individuals who were unsheltered. This count reflects 59 individuals who either completed the survey instrument or who were observed, and 7 additional House members for whom survey takers provided information for them.
So it is certainly clear that COVID is going to have a long-term impact on individuals and our community as a whole. One example of this is the effects it has had on data collection as well as surveying participants. In previous years, surveys were conducted via limited street outreach initiatives and in-person events that co-located services, which approximately 300 people had attended. The in-person event is where we had facilitated the majority of the surveys with people experiencing unsheltered homelessness. In 2021, however, surveys were conducted completely via street outreach, so minus the in-person event. And while street outreach was expanded from previous initiative thanks to partnership agency volunteers, this did decrease the number of individuals we were able to connect with. It should also be noted that in January 2021, 158 individuals were placed in hotel rooms to reduce the spread of COVID-19 through Community Partnerships' Merciful Nights campaign, which could have included some overlap of individuals that normally would have been included in the unsheltered count. Also, the 2020 report included information regarding people who were unstably housed as well as unsheltered, whereas in 2021, the report just had looked at individuals who had been unsheltered.
This is where the data part of our presentation starts. Slightly over 3/4 of participants were aged 35 or older. Men comprised about 65% of the sample, while women comprised almost 35%. 84.5 participants were white, while about 5% identified as Black or African American, another 6.9 identified as American Indian / Alaska Native, and 3.4 as multiple races. When asked how long they've been living on the streets or in emergency shelters, over half of the participants, 67.6% to be exact, reported a duration of a year or more. For 38.8% of participants, this was their first time being homeless. And although not reflected on the slide, slightly over half of participants met the HUD or HUD criteria for being considered chronically homeless. And then it's also important to note that, so for veteran status, 7.5% of participants were veterans, with none having served in the National Guard, and with no participants reporting that they were receiving some sort of health care benefits from being a veteran.
So each year, participants are asked on the survey where they had slept on the night before. So on the night of January 27th, 2021, about 91% of participants had claimed they had slept on the streets or within a homeless camp. The second and third most cited locations were, as shown, vehicle and abandoned building. And so majority of participants, though, had 88.1% reported that they were by themselves on the given night.
These are disabling conditions that were identified through the survey. The majority of the sample reported having at least one disabling condition, although 81.5% of those with a disability were not receiving any sort of disability benefits. Mental health was the most cited disability, followed by physical disability, drug abuse, alcohol abuse, developmental disability, and some sort of chronic health condition.
So lastly, with the data, we have the victimization. So out of all the participants, 41% had claimed that they had been a victim of domestic violence. And here the data shows that women were more likely to have been a victim of domestic violence compared to men. Of participants who had reported that they had been a victim of domestic violence, about 6% indicated that they were currently fleeing a domestic violence situation. Participants were then also asked if they had ever been harmed physically, emotionally, or sexually by a relative or somebody in whom they were staying with while experiencing homelessness. Here, 60% had indicated that they had been. Again, the data shows that women were more likely to have experienced some type of harm compared to men.
So to kind of wrap this up, surveying our community is incredibly important. It shows us that what our community members are facing, and it can help us make decisions in our community and ensure that we create and implement useful resources and strategies that impact our community in a positive way. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for sharing about unsheltered homelessness in our community. So this was just a snapshot of the full report that Missouri State has created. And that full report is available on Community Partnership the Ozarks website at cpozarks.org/end homelessness. And while homelessness is an issue that the Alliance and our partners are responding to throughout the year, we are especially thankful and grateful for the partners that step in to fill gaps that exist during the winter months. So crisis cold weather shelters at Asbury United Methodist Church, Grace United Methodist Church, East Sunshine Church of Christ, and Unity Church will be open on nights over the next 5 months when the overnight forecast is at or below 32 degrees. And please note that the shelter at Asbury is supported by Brentwood Christian Church, First Unitarian Universalist Church, and National Avenue Christian Church. Across all of these sites, approximately 100 beds are currently available for overnight shelter in our community, and additional beds are available at the Gathering Trees Revive 66 campground. We'd also really like to recognize the additional support partners for the crisis cold weather shelters with the City of Springfield, City Utilities, and Veterans Coming Home. And so these shelters in our community were open for the first time this season last night, and they served 43 people and 1 dog. However, crisis cold weather shelters still have a critical need for additional volunteers to continue operations throughout the winter months. So I'd like to welcome representatives from 2 of our newest crisis cold weather shelters to share a little bit about their work and how the community can get involved. So Pastor Erika, do you want to go first?
Hi, I am Pastor Erika from Asbury United Methodist Church, and we discerned what we could be doing with the unsheltered population in Springfield this past summer. We had heard that with COVID coming around that the current shelters were cutting their intake by half, and so that there was a need, and also that our space was not being used as much because of the pandemic. And so that we had this space and there was this need that somehow, some act brought me together with the people from Brentwood and National Avenue and First UU, that they happened to be looking for a location closer to downtown, and we kind of fit the bill for that. Also at the same time, we were doing a movie series, and we wanted to do a local film, and it worked out that we could show songs from the street. And so that we showed that, and I preached about it, and how people realize the need for to help the unsheltered population in Springfield, and that these people were human beings that needed help. And so that really struck home with a lot of the parishioners, and so it just kind of snowballed from there, that we had no budget for this, and we were able to get funding for this through the churches that we were working with, and we weren't concerned that we wouldn't have enough volunteers, and so collaborating with the other churches, we were able to get volunteers, but we still need more. And so things just were falling into place very well, which meant this is what we should be doing. And so the joy of doing this, if you are thinking about setting up a shelter or wanting to participate, is that you are not alone in this process. Even if you want to you're an individual entity, that you want to set up a shelter there, that there is a group of people who are putting together shelters already. In fact, as we were waiting for this press conference, that leaders from all the shelters were in a little powwow talking about how you did last night, what concerns you had, how you made it through. And so there's such an incredible support group here that makes the work lighter, and the wisdom is shared and the experience, so you will definitely find some support in whatever avenue you choose to take in helping with the unsheltered population.
My name is Lisa Landrigan, and I am the outreach team leader for Unity of Springfield. Unity started talking about getting more involved with the community way back in the summer, and a group of us got together and just started attending meetings, getting conversations going about what the needs are in our community. And it seemed like every conversation went back to the unsheltered population. So then we started focusing on that population, and then within that, it seemed like the need for more beds just was the most imminent need. So we decided, our space isn't huge, but if we could help fill that need at all and meet that need, then we certainly wanted to do so. So we have, as of this morning, been approved for up to 20 guests overnight whenever the shelters are open. We're really excited about that. We are up and running. And like Pastor Erika said, the other shelters that came together to support us and guide us through this process, that was invaluable. It helped get us ready so much faster than somebody just starting out and not having that resource. So we were very grateful for that collaboration. We reached out to CPO and to the Connecting Ground, went to all the meetings, just educated ourselves on the population and how we could help, and it's really come together really nicely. But I feel like getting it set up, getting it ready, that was the easy part. Now we have 5 months to run a shelter, and you know, it takes so many volunteers. We went into this just knowing that what we needed would just be there, and so we're trusting that. And you know, we have several volunteers that have already signed up, but we need so many more. If you're interested in volunteering at the Unity Shelter, this Sunday at 12:30 we are having a volunteer training. You can come and check it out, see how it's going to work. We pretty much have kept our process the same as all the other shelters. We just wanted that consistency across the board. So if you volunteered at other shelters, you'll probably find ours isn't much different. But we welcome you to come and, you know, just learn about our shelter and how we're going to do things there. We do have a sign-up sheet or a sign-up site, and you could go to our Facebook page, Unity of Springfield, and also CPO's website and sign up to volunteer there. And, you know, if you ever have any questions about volunteering, if you can't make the training but you would still like to and you don't know how to sign up, you know, don't hesitate to reach out to the church and we can explain all of that. We're really excited and look forward to what this season's going to bring.
Thank you for sharing a little bit about the crisis cold weather shelters and all of the support that goes into them and the support that's still needed from the community. So as Lisa mentioned, to learn about how you can get involved with any of the crisis cold weather shelters, you can visit cpozarks.org/coldweather. And while we focused a lot on the cold weather shelters during this presentation, we have dozens of partner agencies that are offering open houses and volunteer opportunities throughout the month of November. So please take a moment to review our Every Action Counts calendar, which is posted on social media and at cpozarks.org/endhomelessness, and consider how you can make a difference in our community. Thank you.